For more than 130 years, the Doan family has been raising cattle in this part of North Dakota. In fact, Blackleg Ranch has been around longer than the state they call home.
My great-grandfather came down out of Canada in 1880, which was then Dakota Territory, and then in 1882 he homesteaded here. My grandfather brought the first Angus cows to southern Burleigh County here in North Dakota in 1930, and it was predominantly Hereford country, and people hated those black cattle, and it kind of started as a joke, those black-legged SOBs. And my grandfather was just enough of a character, he named it that.
The Doan family runs about 600 head of commercial cattle and custom grazes an additional 2,400. Jerry and his wife Renee are the fourth generation to operate Blackleg Ranch, while their kids and their families represent the fifth and sixth generations. Supporting additional people required creative thinking, and the Doans have expanded into ventures beyond the livestock business.
Our main bread and butter is still the cow herd and cattle business, and and it probably always will be. But as we add other members of the family, we've got to find niches and diversity to make this successful.
We have had to since diversify, and which is what you see here, where you've got the hunting, you've got the weddings, the corporate events, of course the cattle, and all the other things that we do. And so that's kind of neat and something that's not very common.
The Doans have placed an emphasis on soil health to help boost the land's productivity and generate more income. They use an intensive grazing management system which increases the rest and recovery periods of their pastures.
When Lewis and Clark were here, this was vast prairies of abundant grassland, and the buffalo basically did what we're trying to do with intensive grazing. They came through with hundreds of thousands of head, and they kind of annihilated the land, but they didn't come back for a year or two, and that's basically what we're trying to mimic.
We can put more pounds per acre on our land. When my dad was little, he said that this land, it was fun to dirt bike on because there was sand dunes everywhere. And now with our improved grazing methods, we're able to cover that ground, and our soil health has gone up immensely.
The Doans have worked with numerous agencies on projects to improve the condition of the land. That includes installing about 65 miles of cross fencing to help divide their pastures for grazing.
We have put in a lot of fence lines to make smaller paddocks, and then we move the cattle every 1 to 7 days depending on the weather and how many cattle we have in it.
Every year, we put up miles and miles of fence, but it's all for the better welfare of the animal. That's why we do it, and we'll continue to do it year after year.
Another key to a successful grazing system is access to water. The Doans have installed 6 wells and more than 16 miles of pipeline to ensure fresh water sources in each paddock.
Good fresh water is good for performance. It also helps us move the cattle into areas that they wouldn't necessarily graze before.
Now they're just coming up to drink and going back to graze. So it's eliminated a lot of, pretty much the cow trails, different things like that kind of eroded the land.
All of these stewardship efforts have the added benefit of enhancing the wildlife habitat on the Blackleg Ranch.
After our cattle graze an area, you'll come back later on in a month or so, and that grass is already regrown to where there's nesting happening. Wildlife are feeding off of it. The grass is vibrant again. The seeds are there for nutrition. It's truly amazing.
The wildlife is very abundant here. Managing our soil and our grass not only helps the cattle, but it helps the wildlife too.
To have someone that's innovative like that and adaptive like that, it really is inspiring to those of us in the conservation community. And I think that type of openness to innovation is why they've been so successful.
At Blackleg Ranch, they have a deep appreciation for their long history. But the Doan family is always thinking ahead to future generations that will one day live and work on this land.
We're leaving a legacy, and I feel this ranch is bigger than all of us, and our rich history and tradition is bigger than us.
My dad always says that he wants this place to leave his hands in better condition than when he got it. And so as we come up, I feel that that's a very good motto to live by when we hand it over to the next generation.
We would like to see this continue and stay together for our kids and their kids and future generations to enjoy.
There's going to be a lot of changes probably, 10 years from now that we don't even imagine today what could happen. So that's what makes it fun. It's new ideas we're able to try and, capture.
We want to make sure that the ranch is sustainable and it's in a better position than when we obtained it so that it can go on for generations.
I do want stewardship to not just stay the same, I want it to improve. I think there's tons more we can do. We're not near where I want to be yet, and I probably won't ever be to that level. I just want to keep pulling up that hill. We've got plenty to do yet, but it's moving in the right direction.